Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. As you can see, today is going to be interesting. And to the left of me is Tyler, Onceinluv. Welcome back, man. It's been a while since we've done a video.
Yeah, it has been a while, but it's always a good time when we get together to do them. People really like that BJR5 video, so I'm glad that we could come together for another one.
Yeah, we got a lot more people doing those BJR5s, so hopefully you guys are getting those grinds of those gems. If you haven't checked out that video, we'll post it up here so you can take a look at it and check it out to build your own BJ5 team. Pretty extensive guide that'll really help you to get in there. But today is not about BJs. Today is not about dungeons. Yeah, today is about artifacts. Now, something recently that we figured out this week from the podcast was that additional damage is actually potentially, and I like to say, kind of strong, kind of OP. What's your thoughts on this? Maybe I'll let you elaborate a little bit and tell them what's our thoughts.
Yeah, so after watching Make It a Bud's video, Chris,
yes,
watching the first few videos about it, he talked about how he felt like additional damage was based on base stats, and I felt like it wasn't. I didn't have any like hard extensive proof or any like super strict testing on it. But I knew there's no way like my Juno's hitting for blank amount or my Praha's hitting for blank. Like there's no way if it's based on base stats that they're hitting that much extra damage. So on podcast this week, I was like, all right, let's test it. Let me show Obabo what it looks like with an unruined Water Monkey King versus my 3,000, like 3,200 defense Fengyan, right? And so we did it. And if you guys, haven't seen the podcast already, we do them every single Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific. Make sure to check it out live or check it on YouTube on Brian's channel afterwards. But there's a great reaction from both him and I.
Oh my
gosh! Showing like how shocked we were. Like this unruined Water Monkey King with 2 artifacts hit for an additional 300 damage per turn. Like per hit, sorry.
Unruined.
To start with. Unruined, which was 3 times his original damage he was hitting me for anyways.
Right. Now, this is going to get a little bit lower once you put runes on it, proportionately, but it really shows that you get a nice amount of additional damage for multi-hitters, right? Multi-hitters are the big talk with these additional damages because every single hit, you'll get that additional damage of whatever it is. Well, it's additional damage based on speed, based on attack, HP, defense, whatever it is. They're going to get that benefit. So we're kind of here today to kind of show it to you guys and explain a little bit more about it so you can understand it and maybe implement it into your search and your units right now for RTA or Guild Wars or whatever it is. So as you can see, I have an artifact here, attack type artifact, which I have on a Water Monkey King. And you can see he has no stats. So he has additional damage by 76% of speed. And now this is supposed to be for the total speed that the Water Monkey King is. This includes towers, everything, right? Leader skills, whatever the speed, end speed of your Water Monkey King is, you're supposed to do 76% of that additional damage per hit. So I think Tyler did the math. How much are we expecting to see here per hit?
100.
100.
Should be about 100. So when we're looking at total stats, what we need to do is you need to multiply in your combat speed. So in this case, we're not using speed lead, but we are assuming that you have a max tower. So we take the base speed, multiply it by 1.15, which is 1 for the base and 15% for the tower. And then I multiply it by 0.76, which is the percentage of additional damage based on speed. So theoretically, you should be hitting 100 or 101 if it rounds up extra damage per hit. That should be fixed and true. So when I say fixed and true, I mean it ignores defense and it is not affected by damage variance. So let's take the artifact off first.
Okay.
I have a room open in Goodwill called Testing 123. Hop in. You can attack my 3k defense Fengyan. We can look at the damage. Most hits will glance. So with glancing, damage is reduced. So likely we're gonna see damage around like the probably 100 to 130 range, and then after that we'll probably see, we'll have you put the artifact back on, and likely you'll be hitting between the 200 and the 250 range.
So we got our Water Monkey King here. Let's go ahead and use S3 after I throw a little hula. Okay, all right, S3 here, alter ego. Let's see what kind of damage we got.
So we're seeing 115 damage on each glancing hit.
I saw 113, I saw 156, so I'm assuming the 113, the lower one, is the glancing, right?
The glancing, yeah. So the glancing is usually a reduced factor of, I believe it's 30%, and then it's 30% more if you're on the wrong element. Right. So it ends up being like close to like minus 46% damage, something close to that.
All right, alter ego now with the artifact. Let's see.
Okay, so theoretically, this should be 220 to 250 damage. So there it is. 220 on the glancing, 250 on the non-glancing.
I saw 212 lowest and I saw 250 the highest. Yep.
Yeah, so we'll rotate it again because you have the Ganymede, but I'm pretty sure that fairly well shows that the damage is fixed and true. Yeah, I also want
unruined.
you guys to think about it this way. Obviously we're talking about it from like a multiplicative perspective. Yeah, there it is, the
Yeah,
200s
look
to
at
the
that.
250s again. We're talking about it like it will do this much more damage as like a variable amount. When you have fully ruined units, it's not going to be like your damage goes from 3,000 to like 9,000, right? It's going to be like 3,000 to like 3,500, which in the long run is really, really significant actually. So, you know, there's no
I
need to
mean,
worry if like your artifacts aren't like hitting twice as much damage or 3 times as much damage. The point of the artifact substats are like they add enough damage and enough variables that they're good for endgame and they're still decent for early game.
yeah, that's a crazy part. Now let's talk. Let's before I want to do one more test here and actually rune up my water monkey king with some random damage dealing runes. And I have an even better artifact that has 10% more damage, additional damage based on attack, which is great because it's an attack type unit. And I also have it also has another line for like 60% more damage by speed. So I'm gonna rune it up, and because it takes it from the total, it should be a lot more damage, so we can test it out. But before that, let's talk about the implications of this in, you know, units. What units will benefit from the most from this? I think we've kind of come to agreement that it seems the support type units, and of course units with multi hits, are going to be benefiting a lot from this. What are your thoughts on this, Tyler?
So the reason that I think that supports benefit the most out of this is because a lot of damage dealers will utilize either attack increasing effect, depending on like if you're running cleaves and stuff like that, as well as a lot of the defensive style artifacts feel really strong on damage dealers, just because if you're a bruiser, you already do well. You already do fairly good damage, and survivability is usually what's more important for you. Like for example, for your Mina here, like a double defense artifact with less damage from wind is probably going to be more beneficial due to the style of bruiser that you have going. But for supports often are really tanky and survive lots of turns. So implementing true damage for them without needing to give them attack, crit, or crit damage is super viable, right? I think the strongest unit sees this is actually the oracles. I think the oracles do best with these increased damage based on proportional stat due to the fact that they rotate really fast. So if you have a 100 crit oracle with like low attack, if you run proportional to speed, proportional to HP, proportional to defense, so units like Juno or Praha, you're outputting tons of damage. I know people have been talking about like bomb damage or skill 2 accuracy on Sierra. If you can't find bomb damage, skill 2 accuracy, if you're not running high attack, it is really viable to just run additional damage based on speed, additional damage based on HP, additional damage based on defense. Because like for me, I run like a 40k HP Sierra.
That's
Or
gonna
like
make
a
you do so much
45k
damage
HP
on just
Sierra.
S1.
Yeah, and
right?
I tested with artifacts. I do way more damage than I did before. My Guild Wars Sierra is a lot scarier now because she's on revenge and she counters and does more damage, right? Instead of just relying on insane bomb damage, my Sierra's only like plus 400 or plus 500 attack or something. But she outputs more than when she had plus 1000.
So I mean, even though you feel these numbers can be small, they add up, and it's quite a bit of true damage for all these multipliers. I mean, Tyler said Sierra, you have Juno, you have so many units out there that are currently so meta, have these multi-hits, and would benefit a lot. One of the units that we gave an example for was Vigor. We did talk a little bit about Vigor. A lot of people tend to build their Vigor on crit damage, but now you might be able to swap that crit damage and go full tank. And by going full tank with additional damage by HP, you might see yourself still doing a relatively close amount of damage while being tankier, right, on that particular unit. It will make it so you can ruin your units a lot tankier at the right stats that you need while still dishing out damage, even though they're supposed to be support units. It just adds that layer of utility for units that already do so much. Right now, they're even more of a threat, being able to do so much more damage. So
yeah, so as if you're trying to build them as a nuker, obviously crit damage will still be stronger, but we have created a more viable build where bruisers need high crit damage less. I guess the example I want to put out there again with the Sierra is like I run a plus 144 speed Sierra in RTA generally because that's where that tick line is. So if my Sierra is plus 144, with the tick line, you use her speed lead always, so her base speed will be 139 with lead and tower, plus her runes, and then so with the artifacts, you can get additional damage based on speed on left and right side. So let's say theoretically, I get 200% total increased damage on speed, which is a perfect mid-roll. It's your maximum on each artifact is 200. So if I get 100 on each, I have 200%. That means that I'm dealing 566 additional true damage per hit on skill 1. So
That's
every time I skill 1, I'm dealing 1.6k extra damage for free.
wait, you know what I actually just thought about right now too? Like on top of that, guess what? units that are support type and players that use more support type drafts or slower drafts tend to play for the late game. And this actually doesn't scale down as the late game goes down, right? It only scales up as you get more attack. If you have additional, by attack, the only thing that does go down is your health, right? So that means you'll do less damage because you have less total health for additional health. But attack is actually potentially more valuable in here because you gain attack in RTA and your opponent loses health, so your additional damage continues to get higher per hit while your opponent gets lower and lower health. So that's something to note as well for RTA specifically.
So that's the one we've thought about. We actually haven't tested it because most of us don't want to test where our matches are like at 30% range or 60% range, just because it's easier to test it when it's at 0-0, so we don't like accidentally skew our results. We could definitely do that kind of testing and create another video on it, but for now I don't want to say like it will increase your attack more. I'm not sure if it's based on like what the stats are when you start the battle, or if it's like influenced by things like attack buff or passives that increase attack and stuff like that.
Well, I will say this. Maybe the RTA attack percent won't factor in because, well, you have to test it, right? It could be a different mechanic. It might not factor in. But at the end of the day, you have to say additional damage by speed and defense and stuff, that damage doesn't decrease.
Those are nuts.
And as your opponent's health pool decreases in the battle, you're getting more value for those S1s greatly, right? So that's definitely very beneficial. It's something to think about in RTA. But something to test, so because if HP percent is actually less valuable and factored, then that means it might not be as good in the long term to have HP percent additional damage based on HP percent, and it's more valuable for attack percent then, even if units are HP type.
Yeah, so like I guess the basic overarching like best characters for this, my first thoughts come to like Shiho, the 3 oracles, Praha, Sierra, Juno, and then Feng Yan. Not a lot of people use Feng Yan or talk about Feng Yan, but Feng Yan is incredible. Gains attack bar when attacked, and then 3 hits on skill 1. What are your tests? What are your artifact stats on the one?
Right now, it's just going to be a base test with no artifact, and then I can show you artifact after. No artifact, but I mean, we can see the numbers.
Is he ruined?
Yes, now he is ruined. These are his stats, right? For the guys watching, he has 5 sets of violent runes so that he procs extra. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. I'm just kidding. I just put stats on it. Okay.
Pretty funny.
The test is on stats. Okay. So I just grabbed whatever. Right, so typically, since we are going to be using additional damage based on speed, typically Water Monkey Kings are ruined a lot faster, right? They're ruined to take first turn strips, so you have to factor in these different things about the units you're going to be using these additional stats on, right? Will this unit have a lot of speed? Will this unit have a lot of HP, a lot of attack? And that will kind of also dictate, what you're going to be looking for your substat in terms of additional damage. But end of the day, everything is going to make you do more damage, right? It's just based on your total stats that you have.
Yeah, I think Fran and Lauren are also pretty good for the same reason. They both have multi-hits regularly.
Yep. Diana's going to get a little bit more too.
A little bit less.
Diana's
I think Diana's really good with it.
Yep. Definitely. Anything that multi-hits, honestly. Tanky multi-hits is going to benefit so much from it. It's crazy.
I do also think that like it is relevant talking about like what's more value, crit damage or increased stat based on blank. Let me hit me first so we can see this.
All right, hit you here.
So your glancing was 250 and your non-glancing is 900.
Yeah. Now the artifact, like I told you guys, is a little bit more premium. This one here, because this one's actually decent. I like to say it's got a good. First off, it's an attack artifact that has attack on it, so I'm going to be gaining a little bit more attack from it, meaning that my damage output will be higher. And it's also additional damage by 10% attack on a unit that is attack type, right? I have a lot of attack here. And also has additional damage by speed. So this should be a larger amount. Now, I'm not sure the math calculations on this, but Tyler...
Are you putting a second artifact on?
Just one. I'm just going to put one.
Just one. Can I see your stats really quick?
Sure.
I can run the numbers.
10% for attack and 67 for speed. Right, you can run the numbers mathematically.
So I'll take the 845 attack times 1.2 for your tower, and then add the 1389. So 2403 times 0.1. So you should do 240 additional damage from attack.
That's just 10%. You can get way more than that.
240 additional for attack, and then your speed is 67. So 115 times 1.15 plus 128 times 0.67. That's an additional 174.
Yeah, so we're looking like what, 400 more damage, 400 something more damage.
Yeah, we're looking at 410 to 415 more damage
per hit.
So theoretically, our numbers should be like 6 something and like 1300 ish.
Yeah, thank you, Contuous. Just buffed this unit randomly, gave it from 4 hits to 6. Thank God. It's an additional 800 damage. Like that's so much.
Yeah, so if we're hitting 400 damage per hit times 6, oh man, that's a lot. We're dealing 2.4k extra damage every time you skill 3. Right. A lot of people are gonna be like, oh, 2.4k damage. It's like, but you have to remember that you're fighting you're fighting my 3.2k defense Feng Yan, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you're hitting 2.4k extra damage, that is huge.
Yep, proportionate to the unit that you're hitting there, I mean, that's huge, right? It doesn't factor in the defense, it's just more damage on top of it. Right now, your initial damage is going to get reduced, but proportionally to how much you're hitting for, this is a lot more damage. So you can see how there's a lot more testings and a lot more things that can come into play, right? How you ruin these up on units, right? Maybe you want to ruin unit, put it onto units that have more of a certain stat, and you want to accentuate it, right? You can get a legend with 4 of these perfect additional damages. You can try to convert it in. You can get this on both sides of the artifacts. You can get it on your left and your right side. So adding those together, how much additional damage can you potentially, you know, dish out? It's kind of crazy. All right, let's go.
Okay.
Would you look at that?
600, 1300. I told you.
1,300. Wait,
1300.
wait, that's
by
a
the way.
lot more. That's
Yeah,
400
it's
something.
400 extra.
400
Yeah,
something.
It's wild.
Oh my god.
See, now the
Wait.
reaction that Obavo and I had on the play, like, we were literally like, like, I jumped back. I thought I was gonna shout. Like, I was shook.
This is not optimally ruined. This is not the best of substats you can get. This is only one of the artifacts. This is, wow. So,
This is pretty good.
So, like, especially when you're going up against units that you know will be counter-picked against you, right? Let's say, for example, you're playing a water unit or a fire unit that's standard. Like, let's say Verd, right? You're playing Verd, and you know you're going to get counter-picked by water. Having these, you know, additional damage on a unit like Verd or whatever fire damage you're going to be using, right? Antares, whatever it is, can actually help you to kill these units that are supposed to be good against you. You see? So, this is crazy. And keep in mind, guys, even though we are testing the multi-hit, this works on all your skills. My skill 1, my skill 2, right? My skill 3. So if there's units that have multi-hits from a variety of different skills, I mean, it all gets benefit. It's just a huge damage increase, right?
I think the most notable one as well is that you're hitting me on element disadvantage.
Yes.
And you're still doing that much extra damage. Like, I think people need to keep that in mind. You're glancing, and the amount of damage you're dealing to me is not being mitigated at all when you glance.
746, even with the glancing.
Yeah.
Bruh.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're 30%.
Okay, now we're 30%. Let's go. It's time. It's time to get soloed by Feng Yan, like in the old days.
I mean, I don't think this team kills this Feng Yan, but hey, you like
This
that?
guy slept me.
You like that?
That's toxic.
You like that? Ah, here we go.
Okay, here we go.
Damage is increased. You can already
Okay,
see
so
it.
damage doesn't get increased.
Damage gets increased, and guess what? You suffer more because my damage is against your elemental disadvantage. I mean, advantage against me, and you have less health pool right now too.
Yeah.
Huh?
And you stripped all my buffs.
Huh?
That's kind of OP.
This is actually pretty wild. This is actually pretty wild. If you min-max this is game changing, man. So in theory, we should be experiencing a reduction because I have 67% additional damage by speed, and our speed is going to be capped here to 100, right?
Something similar to that. It's like 104 or something. But
Okay.
Basically, you lose half your speed scaling, or a little more than half. So you should be doing like 150 less damage, approximately.
Right. Let's see here.
So it does.
Yeah,
it does actually
it
reduce the damage. Leo does reduce the damage. Which
That's
is
about
good.
100
That
something
makes
less.
sense.
Yeah, on the glancing on it. So everything comes into play then. It's the like we said, it's the moment of damage calculation, right? So this also means though, inadvertently, if you get debuffed, attack down, attack speed slow, this will mitigate your damage though. But to a sense, I mean, very minor, but it will mitigate your damage for your additional damage by whatever substat. So something to keep in mind. Okay, this was a super cool testing,
wild.
and I think this is a lot crazier than people realized it. Now I know some people have been talking about it, right? Making a bud. Some other people on Reddit have been discussing this as well, but I think the general population doesn't truly has not really seen this yet. So being able to put this video out there for you guys to check out and really see this for yourself firsthand and get that value of it will help you to farm artifacts and look for, you know, substats that will be fun and beneficial for your units on your team.
In terms of like ranking the substat lines, I think that the best order of the 4 is speed, defense, attack, and then HP. The reason I put defense over attack is because I think that the artifact substat line is better on supports, like multi-hitting supports. So I think that defense is more valuable. You don't lose defense over time, and you also generally ruin for quite a bit of defense at higher levels.
I like to say that priority list definitely fluctuates from unit to unit, though. It definitely will have more of a priority. But in general, yeah, it seems like all of these are very strong. I mean, other things that can, you know, throw that priority list off is, you know, what we just discussed. Attack up and HP down, right? Brings a little less value to HP over the long
As well
run
as
of your battle.
attack buff, defense buff, and I think are also significant.
Exactly. If you have units like Tyrannies in your comp, that defense is going to bring you more value, right? Attack going to have more value as the game goes on. Opponent has less health, and you're getting more attack. So you're just doing more damage for free, right, on these support units. All right, Tyler, thank you for taking the time to join me today, kind of discuss this. It's always more fun to be able to, you know, share with you guys more things about the game, bring you guys light on more stuff that can be fun, things that are super OP, and it's often fun to be able to, you know, throw back and forth and be able to talk with somebody about it as well. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below. Leave me some things that you want us to test, right? Maybe we got to bring Tyler back. Maybe I got to bring in some other people. Maybe we need more than 2 people here, right? We could do some fun videos, right? I know you guys love the podcast because there's multiple people in there interacting. We'll bring some more people into these. We'll do some more interactions, test some more things out, and we'll learn with you guys. We'll also leave the link to Tyler's channel down below. He streams every single day, so you'll be able to catch him, ask him questions. He does a lot of testing live on stream, so talk to him. Yeah, pick his brain. And pick his pick his brain.
Pick it.
Pick it. But all right,
You're gonna call my brain a noodle. I know. It's true. It's true. It's okay. I believe it too.
All right, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me here, Brian. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. Anytime. It's always fun. But yeah, also one last thing I've noticed is a lot of you guys on the YouTube channel have not subscribed, so make sure you do me a favor, hit that subscription. We have a video upload every single day, lots of fun stuff, so make sure you guys subscribe, leave that like to support, and of course leave those comments, and I'll see you guys in the next live stream or video. Peace out, YouTube.